Hi, everybody. So nice to see you again. I've tried a couple times. My dogs are being crazy today, so I'm going to try again. Before I get started, please let me pray. Lord, let the words of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be holy and pleasing to you. Lord, I ask that you give me the opportunity. Well, you always give me the opportunity. I ask that I can glorify you in what I'm saying, and I pray that I can encourage somebody, remind them of who you are, and remind them how much you love them. So be with me at this time, and I thank you for every time that you allow me to share my stories. In precious name pray, amen. So anyway, before I get started on my story, I kind of want to, it's not an advertisement because I don't get paid, but I've been kind of struggling with some issues with my hair, and you can tell it's damp because I'm getting ready to teach my interpretive movements this evening. But a few months ago, I noticed when I was washing my hair that my hair was just falling. It was like handfuls of my hair. And my husband already complains about my hair clogging the bottom of the shower as it is, but it was even more so, to the point where it's concerning. And I have very thick hair, so as I said, the fact that I was concerned about it means it was just more hair falling out than normal. So I went to the doctor, had tests taken, and everything looked good as far as my levels, and they really didn't have an answer for me except for maybe it was hormones. They didn't think it was because I color my hair or anything like that. But yeah, it's just something I guess that happens when you start getting a little older. So I know my hairdresser told me when your hair starts going gray or white, it's better to only shampoo it like a couple times a week. Because I know a lot of us shampoo the hair like every other day or every day, and I was one of those. But now I only shampoo it probably when I go to church and sometime in the middle of the week. So I just was kind of confused as to what was causing it because my medications hadn't really changed any. So why? So the doctors didn't have an answer, so I figured I'd just do some research. One of the things that I noticed was one of the things that were recommended was biotin, which I figured is a vitamin, so that's no biggie. So I started taking the biotin, and I was doing some research, Googling, different shampoos, and I checked on Amazon, and I was looking at suggestions, recommendations, and one I came across, it didn't really have a whole lot of recommendations, but I was just looking at the ingredients, and so I figured I'd at least try it, and if I got good results, wonderful. If I didn't, then I'll try something else later. So I found this Shapiro on Amazon, so I got that, the shampoo and conditioner, and what I did first week is I washed my hair every other day just to kind of get it started, to get it in there, and then back to twice a week. And really within the month, I started to notice my hair wasn't falling as much. It was probably between the biotin and the shampoo that I was getting favorable results. Nothing else in my medical history changed. Everything else, all my vitamins and medicines I take were pretty, standard. So, if that's something that you're checking out and trying to figure out if you need to try something like that, you at least give Shapiro a try. All those shampoos are expensive. I don't care if you go to Sally's or Walmart or Amazon, it's going to be expensive. So yeah, but that's the good thing about only having to wash my hair twice a week. But anyway, so that's that. That's my little PSA. So I don't get paid for anything. I don't get paid anything, so it's not like I'm getting paid to advertise, but so that's the best I'm going to be able to do on that front. But anyway, that's my recommendation. If you're looking, If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then, try something else, because everybody's different. Everybody has different things that their body is requiring. That just happened to work for me. The story I want to share with you is actually kind of goes back to 9/11, and then also this in Charleston we have what was called the Super Sofa Factory Fire. 9/11, I don't even know the numbers. There were so many firefighters that died that day, so many people in general that died that day. But what's so amazing with firefighters is when you see a big fire like that, you see people running out, people trying to escape something drastic. But as usual, firefighters and police officers are the ones who run into the fires or run into the danger, and they start trying to pull people out. You have your firefighters who died in service at the time, and then you have your other ones who are dying of cancer due to the chemicals that came across while they were rescuing people. Very sad. And I believe that's one of the things that Tunnel 4 Towers is involved in, is helping the survivors and the families of those firefighters. But in Charleston, we had what was, like I said, it was called the Super Sofa, tongue-tied, Super Sofa Factory Fire. We had 9 firefighters who went in and did not survive, trying to put out this horrible fire. The thing that was really bad with that particular fire, I mean, they're all bad, but the one thing that was particularly horrible was they went in and they were discombobulated. They were lost in the smoke. You could hear the little beepers going off, and those beepers go off when that means that a firefighter is stopped in his tracks and probably has passed out. The beeper helps the other firefighters go in and find them to rescue them. Unfortunately, those particular firefighters never were able to escape. And I had the privilege of going to that funeral as a first responder for my fire department. My husband was an EMT and a firefighter for our local fire department. I just did medical stuff. I didn't do any firefighting. I used to say I wanted to learn how to use the car thing, that basically the can opener for cars, but no, they wouldn't let me do that. But anyway, the fire departments, those men and women go through a lot of training, medical training and fighting training. And, most of the ones in South Carolina, I believe it's about 50%, 53% of the population of firefighters that are volunteer, strictly volunteer. And they invest a lot of time and their personal finances into training. And it's not an easy job, and it's not really a job. There's times that the husband was sound asleep, and then his beeper would go off, and he'd get out, get dressed, get to the fire department, pull on his equipment, jump in a fire truck, and then off to, whatever the emergency was. Every time a fire truck went by the house, I would either get beeped at or, the honk, saying we're going by your house. And I always appreciate that, because that meant they were going by my house. They weren't having to stop. And that would kind of initiate me to pray, because I would pray for them to be safe, and I would pray for the people they were going to rescue. And it could be anywhere from a fire to a heart attack to somebody falling out of a tree. You never know. And you would think that it's just fires, but no, sometimes the ambulances couldn't get to a particular home in time, especially in rural areas. And sometimes it's the firefighter is the first medical trained person that can come to you, and then they can sort of triage you and then make the arrangements to get you to where you need to go. Initiate, first aid or whatever the case may be. There was actually a couple times that I went on calls, medical calls, and there would be some times in the community where I could serve the community as a first responder and be there in case of emergency for festivals and things like that. So I appreciate the fact that I was able to do something like that to serve. I initially started doing it because as a teacher, I was wanting to be able to take care of my students if there was an emergency and we didn't have a nurse on staff. So sometimes I would get a call saying, hey, we got a bloody nose, or somebody's having a reaction, can you come take a look at him? Sometimes I could help them, and sometimes I had to call 911 or the parents. And then I also ended up being a medical person for the football team and for the wrestling team. Really enjoy that. So I got to do stuff on both sides. There was a couple times where I was home and ambulance or fire department had to come and rescue me because I had bleeding ulcers or something would happen, and I could just make that call and know that I was going to be rescued. But my husband would get up in the middle of the night and he would go to a fire or something, and he'd come home and you could smell the smoke on him, and he would share the story about what happened, and some of the stuff was scary. There was a couple close calls, and I know how precious it is for somebody to feel alone in something like an emergency, and then it's not Superman, it's a fireman that comes and saves the day. And I actually wrote a poem about that. Now, one of the things that I noticed is my ring light is shining in my glasses, but I need my glasses on to read this poem. So, and like I said, I was thinking about 9/11. I was thinking about the sofa factory and all the different emergencies that we've been dealing with, and watching all the things that are happening with police officers and people like that putting themselves in harm's way, and we don't appreciate them as much as we should. But I did write this poem called Somebody's Grateful. And so somebody's grateful because of you. Somebody's child is grateful that you broke into his room one night when flames were striving to consume him, to his left and to his right. He knew the helpless feelings of no one being there, and when he thought to give up, a fireman did appear. Somebody's mother is grateful that you risked your life that day, that you thought not of yourself as you carried him safely away. You breathed the air of life into him, and his mother knelt to pray. And then the child inhaled the precious air, and she knew he was okay. Somebody's wife is grateful that her husband came safely home. With the odor of the smoke and fire, she knew he was close to harm. Somebody's son is full of pride because his dad's a special man. He is better than any comic hero. His dad's a fireman. And I wrote this in 2004, so it was before the sofa factory. But yeah, one of the things that happened after that fire is that a lot of the ladies in the local churches would take special like treats, donuts, cookies, and things like that, cakes, and take them by the different fire departments just to tell them how much they appreciate them. And and then you have people who were rescued by the fire department who will do, like on the anniversary of that, and go by and share a special thing with the fire department, just to tell them how much they appreciate it, that they realize that they're alive because somebody stopped their meal or got up in the middle of the night, or somebody did all those hours of training, and somebody knew that they might not survive. Like I said, there are 9 firemen who didn't make it home to their families that night. And, and every time, Danny came home smelling like smoke and then telling me about the close call that he had, I was very proud and a little scared, but mostly proud. And he doesn't know it anymore because, there's younger guys who do it now. Plus, he's very busy now, taking care of me. But yeah, we need to appreciate these men and women who risk their lives for us and who put themselves in harm's way, and knowing that they might not make it. So yeah, that's why it's so important that they have the training. It's so important that they have the equipment that they need to protect themselves and to protect the people that they're trying to save. It's very aggravating when you see how some of the firemen are treated when they're trying to do something. When they have the hose across the street, and people feel entitled to drive over the fire hoses, not caring that they're actually damaging those hoses. And then someone who doesn't pull over when a fire truck is trying to speed down the road, one day that could be your home that they're racing to. And if you're not wanting to get out of their way to give them that extra minute that might save somebody's life, that's on you, honey. So anyway, I just want to share that with everything going on. I just felt like we need to be reminded that these police officers and these firemen and these even the ICE officers are putting themselves in harm's way because they're trying to protect us and take care of us. They don't get paid enough to do what they deal with. And if you see someone that is a firefighter or a police officer or serviceman of any kind, take that second to say how grateful you are to them, because there's probably somebody that his life was saved because of them. So thank you again that you allow me this opportunity to share my stories, to share little thoughts that come into my head, and to be reminded how grateful we all should be for all the things that God has blessed us with all the evil in the world. It's so nice to know that there are kind and caring people who are willing to sacrifice themselves for their brothers and sisters. And you don't necessarily have to be Christian to do that. But I tell you what, I think that's something that God definitely appreciates when he sees somebody putting themselves at risk for one of his children. And I'm going to leave you by saying, be a blessing and be blessed. And I'm here to remind you how much God loves you, and he just wants nothing but your heart, and for you to say, I give myself to you willingly. I give my heart to you willingly, because I love you so much and I have so much to be grateful for. So thank you again.